Welcome back to another episode of Carman Conversations, and we're deep into the used car centre, talking everything used cars. And again, I'm joined by Lauren with some myth busting around some used cars. Over to you, Loz. Hit me with them.
I do. I've got a couple of good myths that I'd like for you to bust. The first one is that new cars are more reliable than used cars, and I guess that you sacrifice on safety and quality.
Yeah, interesting point. Like, obviously, new cars, latest technology, but this used car was a new car at one point, wasn't it? You know?
Yeah, that's true.
And you think, how old is the car? Is it? And this is why cars have warranty. This is why that Mazda have and other manufacturers are mainly now five-year warranty. So, yes, you get a new car now straight off the showroom floor. It's got all the latest tech in it. It's got all the latest safety and everything else. But used cars are just the same. So they were a new car at some point, and they had the latest tech, the latest safety at the time. And it's how well they're looked after. And the only cars that we will keep is something that is extremely well looked after. We go through a pretty decent inspection. Actually, it's a 120-point check inspection when the cars come in to make sure that the cars, we're going to keep them before they're roadworthy and make sure they're saleable in our yard. So we'll never sell a car that isn't roadworthy or a car that's okay. It has to be perfect.
120 checks.
120-point check, yeah.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's a used car check we do. This is before the roadworthy,
yeah.
And then the roadworthy is completed afterwards. But yeah, we're very fussy about what cars we keep. And we obviously, reputation is key for us, and we want to make sure that we're selling good, reliable cars.
There's a really awesome team of staff that you have down at the used car centre who are just so
very
over
passionate,
the market.
Very, very passionate. Know their cars backwards. They, and today a big part of that used car market is on through the internet, with AutoGate and car sales and every other platform there is to find your used cars. It's a bit different to the new car sector, where you'll come into a showroom and look around. You'll still come in and have a look at used cars, but you've done a lot of research online. Our guys are very spec'd. They know that. They watch the market. They make sure our pricing's right. You know, they see the movement in the market. They're very, very passionate about their stock, their cars, the quality, the cleanliness, the service history, the logbooks, everything that goes with it. So, I guess to bust the myth, it's really dependent on the car. And I know that very, very confident in saying that we won't sell a car that's not reliable. But if you're buying a brand new car, obviously it's fresh off the showroom floor, isn't it? So.
Yep. Fair enough. I guess that kind of leads into my second one, is that the stereotyping that used cars are automatically an older car and the longevity won't be there.
Yeah, I guess, again, this is the used car hype, isn't it? That used cars, they're different. You know, we talk new cars and we talk used cars like it's foreign. The used cars have got that stigma about them, you know, that you're going to run into a salesman down there that's going to have his aviators on and the slick back hair and saying, oh, this one's the best one you're going to see, which is just so wrong, you know. We cross over. A lot of our new car salespeople are used car salespeople also, and we have the same qualities when it comes to professionalism, the service, the quality and the knowledge of the car. But yeah, as far as a used car, just because of the term or pre-owned or whatever you want to refer it to as, doesn't mean that it's not going to last as long. You know, if we're talking, I'm still selling cars in the yard 2005, 2006 that have done 60 and 70,000 Ks. You know, but we want to make sure mechanically they're good, and you know, with the Mazda brand, and I favour Mazda because that's what we sell new, is that, and refer to that. I'm confident in selling that car because I know that it'll just keep going and going and going. You know, so it's not a case of they've traded them for a reason and they're down there and, you know, no one wants them and they're only going to last 6 months and you've got to throw them out.
Hidden issues. You
know, they keep going, you know, and that car may get traded and it'll get traded again, it'll get traded again. A lot of the time we'll trade, you know, we'll have a used car that we'll sell. In 18 months' time, we'll be trading that same car back onto a new car. You know, and then it'll go back into a used car yard and it'll do a cycle again.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it's the thing, you know, I've always been a big believer in it, is look after your product, look after your things, and then give them the attention and care they deserve. And that's the mentality we have here, is that we won't put a car in our yard that isn't saleable or a car that's going to last a very, very long time.
Well, there's a couple of episodes coming up later in the season just about the evaluation and the trade-in cycle,
yep,
and how you can use that to your best advantage.
Yep.
It leads into my next question, is that you'll often be paying more than what it's worth, or even if you trade in, you don't have as much control over the value.
No, again different. So, and this is an interesting one because, and I'll be really transparent here. So, a lot of people might think, okay, well, my car, I've sent it online for, say, hypothetically, 10 grand. They've looked on the line, they're seeing it sell for 8,990, 9,990, 10,490. So they think their car's worth 10 grand, right? So I'll take you through the breakdown of how that works. That car may be worth $5,000 as a trade-in price. On top of the $5,000, you've got to pay for a roadworthy, right? So it might need 4 tyres, it might have a crack in the windscreen, it might have a seatbelt issue, with fraying on a seatbelt or something like that. So you've got your 4 tyres, you've got a windscreen, you've got your seatbelt replaced, then you've done your servicing on the car, then you've done your other little things that with your detail and your clean. There's your $2,500. So your $5,000 turned to $7,500. On top of that, you want to put a warranty on the car. Now, a normal warranty is going to cost somewhere between $500 and $1,000, right? So you're at $8,500 on the car. There's not much margin left in the car. So all of a sudden, when that car's at $9,990 or $10,990, general punter would come in and say, well, I don't want to pay $10,990. I've seen one down the road for $10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On top of that, from a business point of view, you've still got to, you've got load fees that are sitting in the car. You've got the yard there. You've got to pay your salespeople commissions. You put the advertising in there. You've had that car, that may have been advertised through social media. It might have been online. So there's a lot of things behind the scenes.
Yeah, there's lots to consider.
That you don't think about when pricing a car. So when people say, hang on, well, there's no flex in there and, you don't get as good a deal, that $10,990 car, if it was at $14,990, you might be able to say, yeah, I'll do that one at $14,000 or $13,500. So we get caught up in the price rather than the quality of the car.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing. And there's a stigma around that as people look at the price. But if I'm looking at that car and I'm thinking, okay, well, it's a 2008 Mazda 3, it's an automatic, it's done 41,000 Ks, it's got a great logbook, the car's immaculate. You can see the service history is fantastic and it's been really, really well looked after. Is there a price that the car's worth? You know what I mean? Like it's something there that, you got to look for the right car and the value for the money.
And I guess this is also speaking is if someone's decided to weigh out their options on whether they sell privately or trade it in, it's also the fact that you've got a team of expert staff that will handle it for you and have to take, because everyone's got day-to-day lives and it's really time consuming, that you do it for them. Yeah,
so we'll trade the car and, we price the car accordingly because we don't want to sell that car or try and think, okay, well, I'm going to offer this amount for the car, but it could be worth that. Because I need those cars to sell. That's our livelihood.
Definitely.
We're a car yard, and the same thing. So people might think, I'll get more privately or I'll get more if I go and sell that online. Potentially they could. But you still got to get your car roadworthy. You still got to make sure that, you've got everything done on the car, the cleanliness of it. You're going to have people coming and toing and froing from your door, not turning up for appointments, and wanting to pay $20,000 for a car that want $25,000 on. So really you can get caught up in that market. And sometimes it can get a bit messy, and there's people that think their cars are worth far more than what they are, or the trading's worth, or someone's told me this, or I've seen online, or my car's insured for $10,000. Because it's insured for $10,000 doesn't mean it's worth $10,000. You know what I mean? So really, and I guess, and I've mentioned this in episodes before, that really comes down to the reputation or the relationship you have with your dealer. And if you know that your dealer's being upfront and transparent and is happy to put a price straight on the table, you've got nothing to hide, have you?
Yeah.
And you might compare it on, I've had $200 here or $300 more here or anything else against a different car. It's just hearsay, So I think what's most important around this question, this topic, is finding the right car that suits, knowing your trade-in of what you're trying to achieve for your trade-in, but having a really good relationship, realising, yes, I am getting a really good deal here, I'm getting really well looked after, and I'm not having to do anything, it's all getting done for me. So
that's a really interesting point. I think it leads on to my final question. As a car salesman, and you've had years and years and years of experience, I think it was definitely a conversation that we had in our household when it came to the time where I had to learn to drive and finally get on the road, is new car versus used car.
Yep.
What is your opinion on this?
It's a good one. It depends on the circumstance, really. And I've got another one coming up, with all the kids, like Jayella later on this year. She'll be in a car learning how to drive, and I'll be doing the hours again, teaching her of what's what. But it's the position they're in. Everyone's different with what they want to do. Some people say, it's got to be a new car. The affordability might be a used car. But again, it doesn't matter whether it's new or used. It depends, on I suppose we all have the one interest at heart, is make sure that our child is getting the best teaching they can. So we're not going to put them in any car that's not going to be reliable, or a car that's going to break down, or a car that's hard to drive. So in this circumstance here, I think it's the best thing that suits. If new car was affordable, new car, great, but in a second-hand car, sometimes it's a benefit, learning how to drive different cars, learning how to drive a car that doesn't have all the technology.
Yeah.
And, and my kids have been a bit spoilt. Some of them have learned how to drive these cars with, lane departure warnings and rear cross traffic alert and front sensors and rear sensors. But when I learned how to drive, you had your
Those
mirrors.
sensors were your eyes.
And yeah, they were. And you couldn't, you didn't have a little electric mirror there. You were leaning over the passenger side, pulling your mirror in, trying to get it to see better. And And they're the things you've really got to concentrate on is not being reliant on all the safety features, and I guess and driving the car the way it should be driven. So yeah, it's a difficult one because it's an opinionated one. This one it really is. So it'll suit everyone differently. Ideal circumstance is that the car that they're learning to drive is the car that they're going to own.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done with my kids is. The one I've done the hours in is the one that they're gonna be driving.
Yeah.
And all my kids started in second-hand cars that were different. Kira started in a little Mazda 2 manual, and then Jalen went into a 98 Mazda 323 Protege.
Yeah.
In a manual, and then Kai went into he was in a 2002 Mazda 3, also a manual. So none of them went into new cars or anything. And as time's gone on, they've bought their new cars. And,
yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to make sure they had a good, reliable car that was safe for them to drive. But it was something that they were when they were learning how to drive, there was still the safety aspects of it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that it had all the reliability and it had a good service history and everything that I've talked about in previous episodes.
On the flip side of that conversation, there's also the stereotype and the stigma that people are expecting more from the trade-in value that you offer them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is probably one of my favourites. And after 28 years in the motor industry, this is probably the most popular one because everyone's an expert when it comes to their trading. Everyone knows, I got a mate that's a mate that he reckons that's worth 15 grand, and I've heard them all. I don't think there's one that I haven't heard about what a trading's worth. It's the common thing. I think it's worth 15. If I put 10 grand, I think it's worth 15. Well, if you think it's worth 15, that's fine. You're more than welcome to sell it and get the 15 grand. Well, what can you do?
Yeah.
It's not the case, we've not necessarily had the 15 grand. It's a want. And it's also, and I know we talked about this before with the old reputation of used car sales. It's old and sleazy and it's not honest and upfront and transparent.
Yeah.
And I guess this is the part of the car negotiation, which is getting a lot better than it once was. But there was this lack of transparency and honesty around what a car's worth.
Yeah.
And I think this is what built the wall up, is that, if you think a car's worth 5 grand, the customer thinks your car's worth 10 grand or 8 grand or 9 grand. It doesn't matter what figure you're going to put in front. They're going to add 3 or 4 grand to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's always been a protection or a wall that's been built because of the stigma around that used car never getting enough for the trade-in.
Yeah.
And that's why we're completely different here. I run through my social media, I run a Trade-in Tuesday. So where you have to really fight with a dealer in most car yards to actually get a trade-in price, because they won't tell you, I'm actually offering it as a social media platform for free to say, give me your trade-in details and I'll tell you what it's worth.
Yeah.
And the same method when it comes through to the showroom floor. They say, oh, look, I'm trading in this car, and hypothetically it might be a 2010 Toyota Yaris. Instead of us saying, okay, well, what are you trying to get for it? Well, maybe it's worth this. Well, let's work a changeover price. I eliminate all that.
Yeah.
And just say, look, your car's worth this amount of money. And it cuts out a lot of that. And a lot of customers are surprised, going, oh, that was easy. Oh, that's actually what I wanted. Because a lot of it is that hype.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's been built for such a long period of time around people not being able to get the transparency from car dealers around what their car is worth. And when I grew up and when I came across from our service department into the sales department in the early 2000s, I lived in that. When with my trading, you never gave a customer a trading price. They had to fight for it.
Things are really different now, aren't they?
So different. And I talk about this a lot with the market. We've changed. We change monthly, and we have to move with the market. And if you're in that car yard now where you're not giving a trading price, you're missing business. And if you're not giving customers what they want up front and being transparent around the new car price, the used car price, or their trading price, or their weekly figures, you're losing business. And that is our philosophy here, that we're up front, we're very honest, we're very direct, and we're very, very transparent in what we do. So your real trading price is what you'll get. Again, we revert back to the relationship that you have with your dealer.
Yeah.
You can go online and try and find your trading prices. You can ask your insurance company what they're worth. You can go to Redbook or to Google and try and find out what this car should be worth. But it's not real.
Yeah.
It's
also
not real.
never apples for apples as
Correct.
well.
It's all so different. So again, you come back to the relationship with the dealer, and if someone's being in front of you and saying, look, Lauren, your car's worth $5,000, the new car's worth this is what your weekly repayments are and everything else, that's everything you want. You've got something to work with there. Now, it may not be the fact that you thought your car was worth more money. It may simply be out of your budget.
Yeah.
So what do we do then? We might move cars. We might move models. and that's where it comes down to that communication and talk.
Yeah.
But I get it. I actually understand it. And with the old myth of people saying, oh, no, it's really hard to get a price, they were right. But that's changing now in the market. So if you're still struggling with that, I do Trading Tuesdays every Tuesday. Drop a
It's a
DM,
LDC
and I'll tell you what it's worth. So yeah, it's a totally different arena these days.
And I think it's all built on people. The negotiation is still there, but it's done through a lens of transparency and trust. And I
Correct.
think that's where you'll both get so much more out of it.
Yeah, couldn't be more truth. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that episode of Carman Conversations, and there's so much more to talk about. And just to touch on that, if you want to know really what your trading might be worth, I do run a Trading Tuesday, so DM me to find out what your trade's worth. But the upcoming episodes, we're going to talk a lot more about the trades and the cars in that used car market. So if you want to know more and keep on this used car journey with us, go to the links in the description below and to find out more.